All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of Wealth for the Culture. It is your host, Ollie Brady. Today, I got a lady out here, man. She killing it. She helping Black businesses, more importantly, get into the business credit game and understand how that works. A lot of us don't really know anything about that. I always say you don't know what you don't know. Her name is Rari. I've done my research on it, so y'all ain't got nothing to worry about. Everybody got to worry about things these days, so you got to vet people. And hey, I try to make sure
That's a
everybody I bring
fact.
on, I vet them. So ain't no worries. So first off, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I took a nice little nap before this. So
Oh, that's what's up.
that's the
Yeah.
luxury you have being an entrepreneur.
And let them know when you own your time, man. That's a key right there. But here's what I want you to do. For those that may not know about you or know who you are and what you do, can you just kind of break down your background, how you got into doing what you're doing, and what do you do?
Okay. Yes, yes. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I know I did a call out like a couple of weeks ago and I got a lot of responses. So I'm grateful you followed through. As far as me, my name is Rari. I am a full-time entrepreneur. I help other Black entrepreneurs and Black 9-to-5ers who are within their businesses start, scale, legalize, fund, all of that. I help them pretty much put to vision what it is that they want by the actual structuring of it. A lot of our people come to me because they are like completely lost on what they need to do, or they've gotten misinformation and need that corrected. So I spend a lot of my time through the educational lens of really just like teaching and allowing people to have their own autonomy to be able to like put out whatever it is that they want to do with whatever investment vehicle that they choose. So that's really what I do. As far as what got me here, it's not like I had like a family of entrepreneurs that like I followed and I was like, yes, I want to follow after them. Like nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. I mean, unless we're talking about illegal entrepreneurs, but nobody's nobody is a business owner showing you, how to run and sustain an actual business. So for me, it really got to the point where like I was like, my mom, I grew up poor, single family, single mother. And college was supposed to be that way out. She always told me, go get your education. And I did that. And I did it twice. And when I see myself still struggling financially after having 2 degrees, I'm like, well, what did I just do all of this for? So I got 6.5 years of college, hella student loan debt. And now I'm like in a situation to where I still can't provide for myself. So I decided that I didn't know anything. Like 2 years ago, I didn't know nothing that I know now. But I decided to invest in myself, invest in my knowledge, because I knew that it was up to me to change what situation I was in, even though I know there's a bunch of different factors that sometimes are out of my control that put me in that situation. So that's really it. And now I'm just like, I bet on myself, quit my job. This weekend will make 1 year since I quit my job, my full-time job. And so I've been getting a lot more money ever since.
First off, congratulations on that. That's big. I
Thank
still got my 9 to 5, but hey, I do both. But it is what it is. You got to grind to get where you want to be. Second thing,
Absolutely.
something that stuck out to me was the fact that you chose, because you got 2 degrees. I got two myself. I went and got a freaking MBA. And really, I got a question though, because everybody that's a college graduate, I got to ask this. Do you think college is a scam?
No, I don't. I think that when people say that, I think it's too like I think it kind of minimizes what college actually is for people. Like if you like me, you first generation, low income, come from a traumatic household, like college was like a refuge for me. And college is a refuge for other people. There's people who are homeless, but they only got a home because they're in college. So I think that the actual like financial institution as it is, yes. But you could say that about anything. It's not just
Yep.
college. I think that it's overly expensive and inaccessible 100%. Do I feel like college itself is a scam? No, because I feel like the actual institution provides you with a lot more resources than like me coming into entrepreneurship versus that 18-year-old that came from the same background as me, don't know how to read, don't know how to write, they don't know the systems I know. So these different things gave me a leg up, I would say. And so I think the financial institution, absolutely. But there are some benefits to college to whereas I can't sit here and say it's definitely a scam.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Everybody that tuned in to this show know my thoughts on college. I mean, it's an opportunity cost for me. I mean,
Yeah,
you could do something with it. It just depends on what you're going for.
absolutely.
What did you go to school for?
So my undergrad degree was in forensic chemistry. I thought I was going to be a forensic
Oh, damn.
scientist, CSI. Yeah, it was a time, but honestly, I don't know how real you want me to keep it on here, but it was just too white for me. And I was like, I can't see myself being in the lab. And I just know how corrupt the criminal justice system is. And with forensic science, you are essentially like proving that evidence is
Yeah.
what it actually is. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't trust y'all. Like y'all done wrongly convicted my people, and y'all want me to go and testify that they are incorrectly convicted, and I'm just not gonna do that. Like I just can't.
No, 100%. Hey, you keep it as real as you want to keep it on here. We don't hold nobody back. But I definitely gotta say that is I ain't never that's a first. I never met nobody that was going into that type of field. So that's what's
Oh
up.
yeah.
But this is my thing. So where did the because your whole brand, I was looking into it and I seen the whole VendHer. Where did that come about?
VendHer. So VendHer was how we established the company. Like that's still our name, right? But like VendHer literally established from being a vending machine company and being two Black women who runs it. Like that was where it started, but now it's more so like a vendor of knowledge. When it comes to the vending, so we were already investing into some real estate, but real estate is a lot more complex than the vending machine business, right? Like, so when we were thinking about the ROI, the return on investment, I seen a tweet like 2019 randomly. And I was like, man, I never thought of that shit. Like who? And then I just ignored it. Like never came back to it. 2020, it hit me again. You know, you up late at night, you stressing about money, you looking at your phone and you
Yeah,
start
start
seeing
looking
all
at
these ads and you like, your mind started going. It came back to me and I was like, we got to do this. And so I saw it as an easy opportunity to get into a simple business and
okay.
scale and get a lot of ROI, you know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much where that came from. But a lot of people started confusing me to be like just one track minded. And I wanted our community to understand that there's so much more than vending. Like vending was the opportunity to understand how you can run a business. It wasn't supposed to be the business because I feel like there's only so many vending machines that you can put out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be a cap on the market. And so for me, I felt like, we're not Pepsi, we're not Coca-Cola. They have their own brand. We're not Aramark, who also has a large thing of vending machines. So I was like, I started then using it as a vehicle to teach people how to start and legalize a business. Because I'm like, now you can take exactly what you learned here and apply this to any other business that you do. And so that's how I was able to branch out from the vending machines to what I do now with teaching people credit, business legalization, real estate, car rentals, all of that.
Okay, so you got into the credit game, and that's crazy because I think I had somebody I had D'Angelo on a while back.
Okay, yeah, definitely
So
know.
so do you I guess let me do this. How did you go about investing in yourself? Did you do like a mentorship? You took a course? Like what was your route?
So when I first got started, like I was still working my 9 to 5. And at the time, you don't really need to take a course to do vending. So for me, I did enough market research to kind of do it on my own. And there really were no mentorships for it. The only person who had a course, or not even a course, I think it was just an ebook, was the vending biz. So we were one of the first ones to even create a course from, like the vending content. Now a lot of other people are doing that, which is great. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a huge open market for it. But to get into the real estate and the credit, I actually didn't take any courses when I first started. Reason being was because I was so invested in it time-wise. I was just doing hella research. Like I am a graduate. I got a PhD in YouTube University. Like I
Got
was
you.
going crazy. But this year, when it came to scaling, I don't got time to be spending 10 hours on YouTube to find one thing. So class me anytime, like mentorship me. It's like clockwork now. So every month I'm doing something new as far as investing in myself, but starting out because of the business I had, I didn't do any.
You just hit on something real quick because I want people to understand that. Like a lot. a lot of times people will think that everything that they get can be free, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But at a certain point, you mentioned it, like you wanted your time back. And that's the thing that I think people gotta understand, that you pay for when you get these courses and mentorships. I've done my fair share. Some work, some don't work for you. That's how you figure out what's gonna pop. It's the same as college. You might go or you might switch your major 3-4 times. I switched mine from engineering, and then I went into business. Then I realized, well, hell, I can learn more business outside of school than what I did at school. And that's the crazy part. And so now people gotta understand, like, sometimes you're paying for the convenience of just having somebody organize information for you, so you don't have to go spend them 10, 12 hours on YouTube late at night after you get off work and you're exhausted. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for that convenience aspect. So I think I need a lot of people to understand that, and also understand that it's a part of just being willing to invest in yourself, but also not just invest in yourself like you were able to do. You went and took action on all the things that you was learning to be able to put them and bring them to fruition. Now, on top of that, you got social proof, and now you can go teach other people how to do the same thing. Because at the end of the day, it's no shortage. Everybody can be a teacher at this point, because there's always gonna be somebody that don't know as much as you know. Like, even like you might not be at the top of your field, I guess, for people like you just getting started. Okay, get your understanding and everything, start doing what you need to do to get it to like bring some type of real results in. Okay, then you can go help some people out. Maybe you do it for free for a little bit. Now they got some results. Now you got testimonials. So now you can go on to the next step and start charging people. And at the end of the day, even though you might be on that second, let's say you're on level 2 of 10, you still can help out those people at level 1 still to help them get to your point. So at the end of the day, I want, like, people like you. I appreciate people like you that's out here teaching it, because for one, it ain't easy. Putting the course together that ain't nothing simple, small. I don't want nobody to think that, because I done try to put together ebooks, and that's a job in itself. So putting together a whole course is something else. So I just want to say I want to give you your flowers for that. I appreciate you for helping out, especially helping out our people, because a lot of people tend to make it and forget about, those that, they were struggling with. And I always say on the show, what good is success if everybody around you still struggling? So at least help other people out and help them make it, or at least try to. You can't pull everybody up, but at least try to give back to those. And I just want to thank you for that. But what I really like to get into, because I like talking about business credit, because I'm kind of getting in that world myself. So you just do business credit, or did you do like personal credit with people too?
Both. I don't do credit repair. That's what a lot of people get confused with. I don't do anything related to credit repair. I only teach Black people how to use, leverage, and understand credit.
Okay, so explain. Let's say I don't know nothing about credit. How would you break this down? How should I go about leveraging credit to kind of, get started on my journey to financial freedom?
That's a great question. So I feel like the first thing I would have someone do to understand their credit is to look at their credit profile. I would tell them to go to annualcreditreport.com or Experian, anywhere where you can get like the full trials in order to download your full credit report. Because a lot of people get confused. They got Credit Karma, and I'm like, Credit Karma is a credit monitoring service. It's going to give you at a glance view of your credit, but it's not going to show you every single thing. And it's only going to show you 2 bureaus. And so I explained to them, there's 3 credit bureaus. You want to see all 3 of these. And I like Experian because you can download each credit report, and they'll give you at a glance across all 3. So for example, when I was looking at my mom's credit and my sister's credit, I'm like, look, this is how it looks for all 3 of them. This is how much debt you owe here, here, and here. This is the negative items you have on this bureau, and this bureau. So that gives people just a basic fundamental, the fundamental knowledge to understand what's actually even reporting on their credit. Because what I find is that a lot of our people in our community, because I can only speak to us, they know that their credit is bad, but they're going to put that
out of sight, out of mind.
Right. And you just going through life just knowing your shit bad. Like, no, we cannot do that. And so I really have people confront their demons. Like, no, approach it. Go with it head first, because what you'll find is that some people don't even have as bad as a credit profile as they think, but they've completely disregarded it, and nobody's ever told them to look at it. So that's really the perspective I take first. And then we start talking about the restoration. So if there's restoration needed, I'll be like, hey, here's people I recommend. If there's credit building that's needed, meaning they have a good profile, they just need to build it out right now, then I have a free ebook that I give anybody that. And if you want the link, I can give you that link so you can put it in your show notes or whatever. But that credit building ebook has a bunch of different primary accounts that people can add in order to establish good, positive accounts. So whether your credit is bad or whether you're building it, they have the resources now to actually build up a solid profile.
You own it. You own it for sure. I mean, I know back in my day, like a few years back when I found out what my school was, I had to go like in the trenches. It wasn't nobody online really teaching this. It was just like, shh.
Right. It is a big thing now.
That's something that I think is real important to understand and everything that's going on with this.
Mm-hmm.
But so now so let's say we got our personal credit situated. How do we go about branching into figuring out, I guess a business to go into, how to leverage, getting business credit when you don't have like any business history with a business and none of that stuff? How do you get into that world?
Right. That's a great question. So when it comes to, well, those like two different questions. So when it comes to you figuring out what type of business you like, I always tell people like, what is something that I don't recommend anybody do anything for free, but what is something that you feel so passionate about that you give it out for free? Like with me, I'm just educating people all the time. That's how I knew that I was supposed to be doing this. Now, we at the club, I'm like, bruh, da-da-da-da-da. Like, yeah. What's going on? Like that meme where they like, I'm checking my GPA in the club, or I'm writing a paper in the club, like that'd be me. So when you know that that's you, like it's always on your heart, it's always on you, that's what you should be leaning into. And for me, when I was in my full-time job, I knew that I wanted to do everything for us by us. And when I was around all of those non-Black people and I was trying to advocate for Black people, it was like it was falling on deaf ears. So I said, how can I take control of this? The only way I'll be able to service my community is if I only work for them. And so that's why I became a full-time entrepreneur, for us, by us. And so that's that first piece, like just research stuff. Like it's a bunch of different websites, try different stuff. Like I got a t-shirt maker. I went from vending, real estate, credit, car rental. I try everything I'm interested in, because at the end of the day, if you're strategic enough and you do enough research, there's no way that you could lose. Because if you're doing the research, then you know what it's going to take for you to get into it. And then you're going to know what's going to take for you to get out of it. So that's how I feel about it personally. Like I got a car rental right now where I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep this going. At one point, this car is not going to be worth much. Let me exit out right now while it's still in positive. So that's just that on that. As far as building a relationship with the banks, that's the easy piece. I mean, if your credit is right, you obviously have two different ways that you can build business credit. You got PG, which is your personally guaranteed business credit, which means you're using your personal securities, your personal credit profile to approve you or unapprove you for your business's debt, essentially. And then you have non-PG, which means it's EIN only. And your EIN is essentially your social security number for your business. That credit you can build whether you got bad credit or not. So what I like to tell people essentially is that if you got bad credit, don't, abstain from building credit. Just build the EIN, which you need to build anyways. Build that EIN only business credit. And then once your personal credit is at a place that you feel good about to go apply for funding, then you can move over to the PG business credit, because the EIN only business credit, you can only use it at certain places until you.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. How do you go about just going straight EIN? It's perfect.
You gotta build up the tiers, and EIN is not necessarily my specialty, but there's several different tiers, right? So your first tier is your vendor accounts. Those are your accounts that you have to pay on net terms. So they're not revolving lines of credit, meaning that you got to pay them back in 5, 10, or not 5, but like 10, 15, 30 days. Like that's as soon as you got to pay it back. So those accounts are hard for people who are not making money in their business already. But I do say to establish those and get just general stuff you needed anyways. Like you might need paper towels. Like there are a lot of like office supplies, cleaning supplies, stuff like that for those net 30 accounts. The next tier is going to be your like retail cards and accounts. So that's going to be when you actually get into some places that you might use for your business, Lowe's, Home Depot, okay, Walmart, Sam's Club, Floor and Decor, Dale. Those are going to be like where you can actually like buy something that you actually need, right, not those net 30 accounts. Then you move up to like your fleet cards and things of that nature, which are your gas cards. And you can get gas cards in tier 1 and tier 2. From what I've learned from someone who does only EIN only business credit is that you can get approved for a lot of these different accounts at different tiers, but it's a matter of if they're going to give you the largest amount, and we want the largest amount. Gotcha. Like, for example, I dropped a reel on how you could get the Shell card, which is an EIN only business credit, like months ago. That card, a lot of people got approved, but they didn't get approved for the highest limits because they got it in their tier 1 instead of waiting until tier 3. So it really just kind of depends. But that's for the EIN only business credit. When you get to tier 4, you start to get in access to those loans, the more cash cards, the auto loans, things of that nature. So it takes some time to build it up, but you can build it up in about a year or less. As far as the fintech companies, now I think fintech companies are personally where people should also look at if they don't have the best credit, because the fintech companies, those are going to be your cards like Tomo, Brex, Divvy, Ramp, Torpego, whatever it's called. They go based on the accounts that you have, or the limits that you have in your business checking accounts and business savings. So they approve you based on how much money you're making, essentially. Okay. But a little hack, you know what I'm saying, is that you could just let money season in there, right? You can let money season in there and then go apply for those cards. There's no hard inquiry. They do soft inquiries, right, to see where your credit actually is, because they do actually look at your credit. When people say no hard inquiry, it's not that they're not looking at your credit at all, it's that you're actually not getting a hard inquiry, right? Okay. They're still going to do a soft inquiry, though, more than likely, because they're going to do something to see if you qualify at all. So those fintech companies are good ways for people who don't have the best credit as well to build, because they're going based on the money you have in your accounts, which is what they consider to be the collateral. You know what I mean? So you got PG, you got non-PG, you got EIN only, you got fintech. I mean, it's so many ways you can get business credit nowadays.
Hey, you drop it. Hey, you just put on a whole little master clinic right there. Hey, I'm over here taking notes. But right. You mentioned something about this, though, that a lot of people, I think, don't think about when they get into business, period. And that was exit plans. Like, is this the first thing you think about when you get started on any kind of business you think that you're about to go into? You think about that before anything?
I can't say I think about it for every single business, but the ones that I feel like are going to be the most riskiest, like the car rental, absolutely. Like, my thoughts were already there. Like, what do I do with this car if I feel like it's going to be a point where I'm upside down? Sell it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I got you on that, because I'm in Turo right now, and I do the Turo business. I always tell people, like, it sounds real good when you hear people talk about, oh, you can go get these loans and go get 2-3 cars, but it don't look as good when you over leveraged. Exactly. And now that's affected your credit as well. And because most times you PGing for this stuff. Yep. And so now you looking up and you done messed up your whole credit profile just because you wanted to run a play that you wasn't actually prepared for. That's why I try to tell people, when you get like just real quick, when you get in that car rental game, just like, it's okay to scale slow. Like, start off with one car. You ain't gotta go straight in with 3-4 cars and do a whole fleet. Then you wondering why my car is not renting out, not realizing you got the wrong cars for your area because you didn't do no market research, or you priced it too high. You done priced yourself out. So
or just saturated. Everybody in Turo. You know what I'm saying?
That is a fact. Like,
but everybody else got a BMW. Which one they gonna choose?
Yep. Unless you're gonna price them out, which is gonna hurt your profits.
Yep.
You might be stuck, and then other people you're going against might be able to price their stuff super low because they might have bought that car cash at a discount at an auction. Right. Just fixed it up. So just anybody out there that want to get into the Turo game, take it from somebody that said it, people that's actually doing it. Be careful. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I'm not saying you can't make money, because I make money. I make plenty of money off that, but just make sure you understand what's going on as far as over leveraging yourself, because that affects your credit profile, things of this nature. But this is one thing that caught me. I was, checking you out stuff. You talking about turning credit into cash. I know that. I want to know how you go. Where did this come from? Because I hear people talk about this a lot. I never got to really dive into it and ask nobody about this whole concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when it comes to turning credit to cash, your credit card has a bunch of different interest rates. You got an interest rate for the actual card. You have an interest rate for taking cash out. So maybe you went to an ATM or something like that and was like, hey, I want $20. And then you got an interest rate for balance transfers and things of that nature, if your card allows you to do balance transfers. So all of those are going to be different rates more than likely, with the balance transfers and the cash advance being typically a higher interest rate than your actual card. So with that being said, when it comes to turning to credit to cash, I knew that when I learned about manufacturer spending, really it's just like, manufacturer spending is one thing, but I always tell my mentees, my clients, whoever I work with, that this is just another way to liquidate your credit card and avoid having to pay those large fees that you have to pay or that interest rate. Because imagine I took my Amex card, right? And I went and I have like I don't know, I forgot which limits on here. Maybe like I have like 6K on this card. Now, Amex is only going to let me probably take out like 4,000 to 5,000 of that in cash. They don't let you take out your full credit limit. Okay. So imagine I went to the ATM, put this card in, was like, I want the max. They're going to charge me that high interest rate until I pay off that cash that I took out. So I got to worry about that high interest rate. Now, for me, I know how to liquidate the credit cards, which allows me to take out all of the money if I wanted to, and avoid paying that interest rate. So instead of paying that long interest rate for the term that the money is borrowed, I'm only going to pay the interest rate that's actually on the card because it looks like I just spent the money. And then what I'm going to do is, I might have to pay a fee. I might not. It just depends on what mechanism you use to liquidate your credit card.
Yeah, that's pressure right there. I know some. I didn't know you could. I've heard about the manufacturer spending. I never tried it myself. Can you kind of just explain how that will work to anybody that might be interested in doing that?
Yeah, I can give some examples. I think that'll be the best context. So when it comes to manufacturer spending is a way to liquidate your card. Like that's one way to do it, to avoid, like I said, paying that high interest rate. So when it comes to manufacturer spending, let's say that you bought something from the store using your Amex card, same Amex card. We then, actually, no, let's not use Amex. Let's use Chase because Chase uses Visa. All right, I went to Chase and I went to the store. I bought something. All right. I was like, I don't want this anymore. I went back to the store and they're like, all right, I'm going to return it back to your Chase such and such card ending in 0123. And you're like, actually, could you send the refund back to my debit card? And they either will or they won't. But if they do, now that money is on your debit card. To Chase, it looks like you spent that money because you got the refund back on your debit card. So we just turn credit to cash. Now, this is the way that you avoid paying any fees because it's literally just a return. So now I got that money on my debit card. I can do two things with this. I can use this money I just liquidated to run a play, or I can go and pay it back off. Because what happens when you go and pay it back off, that's just manufacturer spending, right? When I use it to invest in something, that's just me liquidating my credit card. Manufacturer spending is what people do to literally not to get the rewards of the card to make it look like they spent money, but they really didn't. When you're liquidating it just by trying to go buy it, buy an investment that you can't usually use credit for, that's completely different. But both are ways to liquidate the card. That's just one way of doing it. There are several different ways. There is a lot of risk involved in manufacturer spending. I always tell people that because, say, for example, you looked at Amex or Chase, they'll shut your cards down. A lot of people, they want to hit those welcome bonuses, right? So they'll go run it up as soon as they get the card. Well, Amex will shut your shit down with the quickness. Like somebody, in a group I'm in was like, yo, I just spent 10K with Amex. As soon as you got the card, bad move. Like you want to slowly build a relationship with them. You want to spend 1,000 here, 500 there. Like don't just go out the gate with a new relationship. They haven't even recognized your spending patterns. And they feel that a lot of times the lenders think that it's fraudulent because somebody just applied for this card, then they ran up 10K. It doesn't look like a real consumer. It looks like somebody who fraudulently applied for a card underneath somebody else's name, which is why they flagged the accounts immediately. So that's just one thing to think about.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that part too. A lot of people will go out and grab these cards and just go run it up and be silly afterwards. And that's funny that you mentioned that. Like, so money for spending basically something similar to what I do. Like, what I'll take my credit card, like my personal credit cards, and I might cash out like my mom or somebody in my family the money because I'm gonna pay less. They charge like maybe 3-4% on Cash App. Yes. Prior to all this whole stuff they got going on with the $600 thing, they checking all that. But prior to this, you paying less than your cash advance interest. So then I might go run like me. I do stocks and crypto, so I might go run a play with stocks or crypto, run that up, take that extra cash out, pay the balance back off, keep the profits, and now I just made money without using any of my own money. So and those are just different things. Yeah. Okay. So those are just I get it now. So those are different things to take advantage of, and like you said, it is a risk involved with that because you can lose money in anything you do. You gotta understand what comes with that. Yeah.
If you want to be careful with some of these platforms, they'll code it as a cash advance fee anyways. So like Cash App, for example, depending on the lender, they'll code that card as a cash advance fee just because they know it's turning to cash.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that because I know I looked into. I think it was like 8% for my cash advance fee, and I think they charge you like 3%. So I was like, okay, I could tolerate that. That 3%, that's a 5% difference, and I could pay that back in like a month. So just, I guess the big thing is having a plan when you do any of this stuff and being aware of anything y'all get from this, especially Rari here, market research. Like just be okay doing your research on your own. Yes. Or go pay for somebody to teach you. I mean, like I say, it's whatever room you want to go. Some people don't have the money, so guess what? Now you got to spend the time. You got the money, then hey, you can save your time. But you got to start somewhere. Best thing to do is go take action and get started. Also, she done gave y'all a whole little, basically like a whole small snippet class of how to run the plays with business credit. That's something I'm like, I ain't no expert. I'll tell you, I can help you with some stocks. I can help you with crypto when it comes to this business world. I'm still learning. So I like having people on like you.
That's what we come together. Exactly. I that world.
I love having people like you all because it's like that's a whole new world that not only my audience can learn, but I can learn too. And that's the key right there. And the fact that I always tell people you don't know what you don't know. Like a lot of people, they're gonna hear this and be like manufactured spending. Like I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. And it's just stuff like that. It's just that exposure that can allow somebody to be able to go, and now, hey, they might be able to go start a business and run these type of plays, or whatever you want to call it. And now they could think of a different world that they didn't even know about, where they could actually build wealth of their own, change their whole family's trajectory, and break a generational curse and not be stuck in a rat race, man. Just on that endless cycle of debt, especially people that's like in college, because a lot of times I think like our parents were just so happy for us to go to college. We didn't even think about the fact that, when you major something, you got to be able to make some money from that. So it's like, these are just different avenues of exposure to get y'all able to be able to go make money on your own outside of like your traditional, like, go to college, get a degree, go get a job. Now you got I know you got trades. This is almost like a trade. It's your niche. So you teach people, correct? You got courses. Break down like what's covered in I don't know, your course, mentorship, or whatever. Like break down all that. Let people know what they can expect if they was to just come do business with you and learn from you.
Gotcha. So as far as the course that I haven't dropped it yet, but that's coming pretty soon. When I transitioned from the vending, I went straight to live classes. And that was a really good move, but also I wish I would have did digital content first and then live classes. But as far as my mentorship, I just dropped that in September. October, I had my second one. November will be my last one. In my mentorship, I go through almost 3 different phases, right? I go from the legalization piece. So I talk everything about LLCs, EINs. I talk about trademarks and stuff like that. Things that people should really be considering with their business, especially if they're not. Like I don't give the basic BS because at the end of the day, I like to think like long-term. I'll be introducing trust as well because I'm currently getting a trust made for me. Stuff that you really need to create, in my opinion, a sustainable business that you're able to pass down. I also talk about personal credit and business credit and just funding. So I teach my mentees who come through the mentorship an actual funding matrix. And that really is important because I'm teaching them essentially through my mentorship how they don't have to pay a company to get them funding anymore. Like they'll know exactly what they need to fund themselves for the rest of their lives. Like nothing about it will change. The only thing that will change is their credit scores. That's it.
Gotcha.
And lastly, the last two pieces, I actually get into a trade. I talk about short-term rentals, real estate for like first-time home buyer loans. I do get into that because I think real estate is like the number one vehicle for wealth, in my opinion. So I do dive into that because I think it's extremely important. And lastly, I talk about the private car rental industry because that's what I do. I literally teach what I do essentially. And lastly, content creation and business automation. So I show my mentees the different systems that I use in my business, how I get leads, how to groom those leads. I tell them about different systems that they can use to kind of professionalize their business, right? Like something like I know you had a Calendly set up, right? There's some people who going back and forth in DMs about times that work. We way past that. And so I'm teaching
that was me when I first got started. And I'll never forget.
We can't do that.
Man, I'll never forget who was it? Brian. Infamous CPA. I remember I was bringing him on the show, and he hit me like, "What's your link?" And I was like, "What?"
Right.
Man, that day I got me a link set up, and that honestly was a game changer for me because it makes it so much easier to book people. I can be like, "Here's a link, plug in, tap in, whatever time works for you." So
exactly. So it makes it, and that's why I talk about that automation. You send somebody a link, and they got to figure out the time. We're not doing this back and forth. So I'm really teaching my mentees like the whole piece of starting, funding, and then scaling. Like holistically, that's what the mentorship is for. I'm discontinuing it as far as like for the remainder of this year. After this, I'm only doing seasonal mentorships, and it's going to be way more expensive. I'm telling you that right now. Like I tell everybody, you got to charge your worth, and you almost got to be inaccessible because people don't really.
But that's a bar right there.
People don't value people who are accessible. And because I'm accessible, people think that they can just play with me. And it's like, nope, price going up. What if
it's crazy that you mentioned that though? Like, hey, yesterday price ain't today price shit. But I would say this though, like that's something that you really just hit on. Like, I'll never forget when I first got into the world of like buying a course. Like people will look at a course or like anything, and it might be like you just getting in, so you trying to charge cheap, or you might just be trying to look out for your people and charge like $100, $200. People will look at that. It'd be like, no, there's got to be something wrong with it just because it's too cheap. Like a lot of people had this misconception that because they're cheap, they think you might be purely doing it with good intent, but people will look at it from the outside looking in like, no, that can't be nothing worth my time. It's got to be a scam. But then you got people over here that might be teaching the same exact thing, charging 5 racks. Yep. And somebody go drop that bag like that, no questions asked. They're not gonna house you. They're not gonna be like, "Oh, do I get 24/7 access to you? I can just text you at 2 a.m. They don't do none of that. They just pay and attend, learn, and go on and do what they got to do. So that is like a bar. You definitely have to be inaccessible. You can't be available to everybody. And as much as you want to help everybody, you got to understand that you ain't gonna be able to help everybody. No matter how hard you try, your goal is to help somebody else out, and hopefully they'll be able to, go succeed at whatever what it is you teach them, and then they can go help other people out, and then it's just like a domino effect, and it become widespread like that. So that's definitely something I'm glad you hit on. That's a gem in itself that a lot of people don't understand. You definitely need to charge worth. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being free when you first start out. Like you said, you was doing Instagram lives and all type of stuff. But those are like, honestly, you can strip all those off Instagram and make a whole course out of them on the cool. But that's so that, and it's like people don't, and it's crazy because if you charge, you'll probably get more people that pay attention to it than the fact that you're doing it for free on Instagram. People will see it. They might tune in for a little bit, like, oh, okay, that's legit, that's what's up. But they're not gonna go do nothing with it. Why? Because it was something that they didn't have no skin in the game. They didn't have to pay nothing came out of their pocket. It was just readily accessible to them. That's another reason why I always tell people, like, sometimes YouTube is cool, but if you're not disciplined, more times than not, you just watching that for entertainment, and you're not gonna go do nothing with the information. Like a lot of times, I think one of my guys said, people that pay attention. So sometimes you gotta put some type of skin in the game and put some money up. Because when you put some money up, you're gonna take it more serious. And I personally can guarantee you. I mean, I'm sure you could say the same thing. Paying some money towards something gonna make you take a lot more action than most times when you get stuff for free. Why you invested.
100%.
But I want to thank you because Hey, I didn't know what to expect, but this you dropped some gems, man. And I know your mentorship is pretty cold too there, but because this is just like a little. I'm sure you don't even have to touch on none of this. You go way deeper into it. But I do this. I do this last segment. I want to get into talk to the culture segment. I run off 5 questions. You just answer those best of your ability as quick as you can. We wrap this thing up. So the first question is, what does wealth look like to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Wealth to me looks like legacy. It looks like it passes down several generations. It looks like blackness. It looks like something that was stripped away from us, but I feel like something that's slowly returning. So that's what wealth looks like for me.
Sure. Same question. I always get a book recommendation. The book cannot be Rich Dad Poor Dad, though. I need some different suggestions. Everybody giving that.
Ooh, books. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, I don't read books. I really don't. But let me think. No, I can't recommend a book. Can I recommend something else?
Recommend it.
Can I recommend a podcast?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that instead because that's my type of style. So I personally recommend Bread, the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. That podcast was what really shifted my mind because it made investing seem a lot easier and I understood it a lot easier than I would have if I was just sitting in front of YouTube.
Okay, all right, I respect that. I might have to start asking about their favorite podcast actually. But next question: since this is a podcast, kind of I target the Black community, right? I always ask people, what is one thing that you think the Black community needs to improve on?
So that's a really good question. I don't want to misspeak and be misunderstood. But I feel like one thing that the Black community could improve on for sure, really 2 things is one is that self-initiative and 2 is collectivism. The reason behind why I'm saying what I'm saying is because when you look at other communities, just from the outside looking in, they have stronger infrastructures than we do. And at one point, we cannot just blame the systems that be. Like, we know that these things exist. We know racism, white supremacy, all of these things exist. But we also are internalizing these things and destructing our own communities ourselves. So I feel like having more initiative to not turn away when things are uncomfortable, but like bring those things in to learn more about financial literacy, as well as coming together and being open to that, being open to letting the ego down, really. The ego is so big in our community. It's like, this is a sidebar, but like I was even talking to one of my sorors yesterday, and I was like, sis, you got to get a trust for all of your assets. She was like, nah, I got a will and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, but your will is still going to go to probate. Like, you have to get a trust. And she was like, nah, I'm good. Like, Bay was a probate attorney, so I'm good. Okay. Like, and that's the type of back and forth we go through sometimes, instead of someone saying, well, what makes you think I should get a trust? I thought I was covered here. You know what I'm saying? Like, really just being receptive to like learning more instead of just, it's oppositional all the time. And that's not going to bring us forward.
Now that you mentioned, I'm glad you hit on it, because I had a estate planning attorney on a while back, and she broke down wills, trust, and everything. And it opened up my mind even too, because I didn't know it was that much that went into it. A lot of people don't. And a lot of us don't know because we don't have much to give back, give down to anybody. So we ain't never had nobody even show us, teach us. We ain't never had the experience going through that to get nothing. So that's definitely something I think everybody should tap into. It's like Portia Wood is who I have brought on if y'all want to check her out. But that is definitely something that people definitely got to understand and get a grasp of. Because nowadays, they say, our net worth for Black people going to go down to 0 soon. But I think that we're doing all right now, making strides in the right direction. And so with that, you got to protect that. And so that comes with planning. And you're going to have your trust and your wills, all your affairs in order. Because when you die, that's it. You gone. So now that stuff needs to be in place, because if you haven't shown those that come after you, or you got a whole bunch of people you leaving stuff to that don't really have no knowledge on this, what are they going to do? Exactly. And then the wrong person could come through if they know what's going on and take all that, and ain't nothing you could do about it. So that's just something that I'm glad you hit on. I didn't mean to sidetrack, but that is something that's very important, and people don't realize until it's too late. And they're the ones in a situation where they got to try to figure out how I'm gonna get this money that somebody left to me, and then you got somebody else coming you ain't never heard of that come and take it.
Yep.
The next question I want to know, because hey, I want to look back at this, years from now, and be like, all right, they came when they said what they was gonna do next. What's next for you? What's next for Rari? What you got going next?
What I have going next, two things. I'm about to scale my real estate portfolio like crazy. Next year, I plan to get up to $1 million. I personally don't own any real estate myself outside of the home I own, but I do have a couple of short-term rentals, and I help my partner with her long-term rentals. As far as me personally, though, I'm planning to scale like crazy. As far as the doors, income matters more than doors, but realistically, I would like to get at least 20 doors. So I'm looking at small apartment complexes, 4 units, multifamilies, things like that, so I can get them doors, because what's important for me is residual cash flow. I don't care about quick returns. I care about things that will obviously like bring me money for the long term.
Yes.
So that's really much more important for me than like quick flips, but you got to do what makes most sense at the time. And I'm sure you know about that, being in stocks and crypto. Some things you do real quick, some things you carry over time.
You ain't lying right there.
Exactly. So buying hoes, that's the biggest thing. The second thing is that I'm creating a sub brand to VendHer. And I believe that sub brand has the potential it focuses a lot on what you focus on and what I focus on. I think it has the potential to scale into its own brand, but I'm doing it to build a community similar to what you're doing. And so a lot is going to come from that. A lot of like, I see myself scaling to the point of being like a big influencer in the economic space, not for like the social media clout, but just more so like people pay attention when they see certain things. So I want them to see like a genuine person in front of them, not somebody who is super flashy or obnoxious, but like somebody who really is intentional about taking our community to the next level. So next year, that's going to be dropping. A lot of good stuff's going to come from that. And, I would be happy to have you to some of the events we have in person. Where do you live? This is
in Dallas.
Yeah, I know you somewhere from the South. I heard that accent. I'm like, I don't know where, but somewhere in the South.
I'm out in Dallas now.
That's what sounds like a Texas South. Okay. Yeah. So that's really the two things: the real estate and building up the brand, and obviously like just building out my digital content. I think that digital content, I call it midnight breakfast. I know when you was in college. Okay. When
we used to have them. I remember that.
Yeah. So midnight breakfast is like you eating and it's late, right? So I feel like you're getting money in your sleep. That's midnight breakfast. So that's what that digital content brings, that midnight breakfast. So that's really the big focus for next year and for the coming years. When you look back, you're gonna see VendHer is gonna explode, the sub brand is gonna explode, and you're gonna see a lot of real estate behind my name.
For sure, yeah. Definitely reach out to me. Sure, I'll pull up to anything I can now. I'm slowly creeping up out of my 9 to 5. So
that's right. Got to.
But yeah, last thing I need you to do though, plug yourself. How can people get a hold of you? Where they can find you at? All of that.
Absolutely. So y'all can follow us on pretty much every platform at _VendHer. So it's vendor, but it's VendHer. Emphasis on the her. VendHer. All right. As far as if you all wanted access to that free credit building ebook that I mentioned, just text the number 404-737-1341. Text free ebook, and I'll send that to anybody who wants it. That'll get you plugged in there. And then I just have hella resources for y'all to use. Like check out the Instagram lives I do. Check out the reels I do. This is literally just me saying, hey, if you're not ready to pay for something, go look and see what's out there in a concise way that can get you results quickly. I'm telling you that the people who have looked at my stuff and who have learned and actually took action, they are seeing results. So I'm a trusted resource. That's all I can say. So go tap in. And that's really that.
For sure. We definitely gonna have all that information in the show notes for anybody that just want to tap in that way. But I do want to thank you for coming through. I want to thank you for coming on. Definitely, you're welcome back on the show anytime. If you want to come back through, drop just a random episode here and there, come through, because I'm about to start pumping out a whole bunch of content. So I'm looking, hey, link up wherever. It don't matter to me. I'll pull up. All I need is a date and a location. So
let's do it.
Definitely thank you for coming on. Thank you for dropping these gems because a lot of people don't get this type of information. And so just the fact that we're able to put it out to the people, make it easily understandable because it's us saying it and putting it in a way that they could get. Appreciate you. I always say, you know, what good is success if everybody around you is still struggling, man? Each one reach one, each one teach one. This is another episode of Wealth for the Culture. I appreciate you, Rari, for coming through, and we out.
Yes. Peace, family.